I stood alone in the hall after my graduation. All around me were the echoes of laughter, proud mothers fixing their sons' collars, daughters snapping selfies with their dads, and friends drowning in bear hugs and tears. The dean had just handed me my MBA degree, a piece of paper I'd poured 4 years of night shifts, skipped holidays, and missed birthdays into. I thought today would mean something, but my wife didn't come. Neither did my daughter. No text. No voicemail. No, sorry, honey, we got stuck in traffic. Not even a lazy emoji. Just silence. I waited. I waited until the janitor started folding chairs and the stage lights dimmed. Still nothing. I stood there, diploma in hand, surrounded by families beaming with pride, and I realized I had no one. My phone was cold and quiet in my hand. Maybe they were parking? Maybe she forgot the time? Maybe. Tap. A light touch on my shoulder. I turned. It was Mason, my cousin. He looked uncomfortable, avoided my eyes. Jake, he said quietly, there's something you need to see. My pulse skipped. What is it? He didn't answer. Just held out his phone. At first, it didn't register. Just shaky video footage, club music in the background, lights flashing. And then I saw her. My wife, Rachel. Wearing the same black dress she said was too classy for some college event, grinding against a man in a red button-up shirt. Not just dancing. Locked onto him like they'd been doing that routine for years. His hand slid under her dress. Her head tilted back in laughter, lips brushing his ear. Then, worse, my daughter was there too. At the same damn club. Taking selfies with them. It wasn't just betrayal. It was humiliation, televised in 4K. I handed the phone back, numb. Mason cleared his throat. I didn't know how else to tell you, man. I thought you should find out today. Not tomorrow. Not from someone else. I didn't remember walking out of that hall. I barely remembered breathing. The air outside bit at my lungs like ice. My suit clung to me. The diploma under my arm felt like a brick. I sat in my car and stared at nothing. They didn't come because they were out celebrating with him. And now, the questions poured in like acid. Who the hell was he? How long had it been going on? Why was my daughter okay with it? What kind of mother brings her kid to meet the man she's cheating with on the night of her husband's graduation? The rage didn't come right away. What came first was shame. A slow, burning shame that crawled down the back of my neck and settled in my chest like cement. I was the guy who stayed loyal, who paid bills on time, who cooked dinner on weekends, who helped my daughter with her math homework, who listened to Rachel cry about her job, her mom, her diet, her fake friends. I was her safe zone, her backup plan. And now I was the clown standing alone in a hallway, while she was out playing teenage fantasy with some nightclub reject and dragging our daughter into the circus tent. I drove home with headlights off. I didn't even know why. Maybe I wanted to sneak in, catch her. Maybe I was still hoping it was all fake, that the video was old, or taken out of context, or... The garage was empty. Both cars gone. Inside the house, the lights were on. Wine glasses on the counter. One used. One full. A single heel kick near the hallway like a bad omen. The scent of her perfume, vanilla and sharp regret, still lingered in the air. I walked to her bedroom. Her phone was charging on the nightstand. Unlocked. She always thought I'd never look. Mistake. I opened the messages. There it was. Can't wait to feel you again tonight, Blackheart. He's so boring, LOL. Talking about his degree again, face with rolling eyes. Let's book that Miami trip next week. My daughter's in too. He'll buy it if I say it's a girls' weekend. Face-blowing kiss. I don't remember if I screamed, but something in me cracked. Not snapped, cracked. Like porcelain under a slow, steady hammer. The kind of crack you don't fix. The kind that spreads. I stood there for a long time, staring at those messages, letting them soak into my brain like poison. Every word a bullet. Every emoji a slap. Every lie another nail in a coffin I hadn't even known was being built. Tonight wasn't just the death of a marriage. It was the death of a version of me. The loyal husband. The loving father. The man who believed that hard work and patience paid off. He died the moment I saw that text. What came next wasn't him. It was someone new. And Rachel had no idea what he was capable of. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the living room, lights off, just listening to the ticking of the clock. Every second scraped my nerves raw. At 2:46 a.m., the front door creaked open. Laughter. High heels. Whispering. Rachel's voice. Sure, he's probably sleeping. The door clicked shut behind her. I didn't move. I just listened. Then came the second voice. Deeper. Male. You sure it's cool to stay? She giggled. Of course it is. Jake's harmless. Harmless. She turned on the kitchen light and froze. I was sitting in the chair by the island, still in my suit, still holding the glass of untouched wine she'd poured hours ago. Her face paled. His didn't. He looked smug, like he thought he'd just walked into a rom-com finale. Rachel walked ahead of him like a shield. Well, she began, smoothing her hair. Looks like someone couldn't sleep. I didn't answer. I just stared. She exhaled, rolled her eyes. Jake, don't be dramatic. The man, some muscle-bound idiot in a gold chain and leather jacket, walked further in, trying to size me up. You must be Jake, he said. I'm Carson. I looked at him, then looked back at Rachel. That the guy our daughter parties with too? Her face twitched. Don't bring Emily into this. She's an adult. An adult who watched her mother cheat on her father, I said, my voice cold. Rachel crossed her arms. Let's not pretend this is some fairy tale. You've been boring for years, obsessing over your little degree like it was going to save our marriage. You're emotionally constipated, Jake. And you're stuck in 2012. Carson chuckled behind her. Shut up, I said to him, calmly, before I stand up. He stopped laughing. Rachel didn't flinch. See? This is what I mean. You think threats make you a man? Carson listens to me. He understands me. I stood slowly. She took a step back. You brought him into our home. You took my daughter to watch you dance on another man in a club. You skipped my graduation. And now you're lecturing me about being stuck in the past. Her eyes narrowed. You always play the victim. You're so damn fragile. I walked over to the counter, grabbed the folder I'd printed out earlier, screenshots, dates, locations. I tossed it on the table. I know everything, I said. The hotel, the fake spa weekend, even the Miami tickets you bought on my card. Rachel's smugness cracked, just a little. Carson spoke up again, too confident for his own good. All right, man, maybe we should just bounce. Rachel ignored him. You went through my phone? You left it unlocked. I went through the lies. You're insane. No, I said quietly. I'm finally awake. I pulled out the envelope I'd had in my briefcase. Handed it to her. She stared at it. What's this? Eviction notice. For both of you. The house is in my name. Has been since we moved in. She ripped it open and scanned it. Her face turned to stone. You can't do this. I looked at Carson. She'll be needing a place to crash. Good luck with that. Rachel's mouth opened, but I cut her off. I froze the joint accounts. Changed all the passwords. You've got 48 hours. After that, the sheriff will escort you out. You're bluffing, she snapped. You can call the lawyer, I replied. But by the time you do, you'll be standing on the lawn. Carson shifted uncomfortably. Yo, maybe we should just go. Rachel turned on him. Are you serious? You said you had my back. Not if you're getting tossed out by your husband at 3 a.m. I don't. She looked back at me. Her mask finally slipped. You bastard. I nodded. Now you're seeing it. They left. No more words. Just the slam of the door. I stood alone again, in the same silence I'd felt in the graduation hall, but this time it was mine. And I wasn't broken. I wasn't numb. I was just done. The man who waited. Who forgave. Who hoped. He didn't live here anymore. The next morning, I woke up to a single notification, one unread message from Emily. Why are you doing this to Mom? She's crying. I'm staying with her at Aunt Lisa's. Don't text me. I stared at the screen, then locked the phone. I wasn't going to chase either of them. Rachel had turned my daughter into a witness to betrayal. She dragged her into the filth and called it freedom. And now, they were playing victim while I was just trying to breathe again in my own damn house. That same afternoon, I changed the locks. Called the bank. Moved everything into a private account. I wasn't letting my life be dictated by liars and backstabbers anymore. By 6 p.m., the silence in the house felt different. Not empty clean. But then the doorbell rang. I didn't even have to check. I knew who it was. When I opened the door, Rachel was standing there with puffy eyes, hair tied back, no makeup, holding Emily's backpack in one hand. Jake, she started softly, I think we should talk. About what? I asked, deadpan. Her voice cracked. We've both made mistakes. I let out a short, cold laugh. List mine. Out loud. She stepped forward like she thought I'd fold. You neglected me emotionally. You stopped being fun. You stopped being the man I married. Right, I nodded. So you faked girls' trips, slept around with a nightclub clown, involved our daughter, and skipped the most important day of my life. Makes sense. You're twisting this. No, Rachel. I'm finally seeing it straight. She tried again. Jake, we have years together. A family. We can fix this. Please. Don't throw it all away over one mistake. One mistake. I said sharply. You think this is about one mistake? You made a lifestyle out of betrayal. Don't minimize it. Her mask started slipping again. I watched the shift, pity to anger. Fine. You want to be the victim? Go ahead, she snapped. But don't expect Emily to choose you. She knows who's been there for her. She does, I said. She just doesn't know who's been lying to her yet. Rachel flinched. She'll figure it out eventually, I added. And when she does, you'll be on your own. Wow, she muttered. You're really just gonna pretend you didn't fail this family too. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I failed. I failed to see who you really were. I failed to protect Emily from your chaos. I failed to walk away the first time I felt you pull away. And then I pointed to the gate. Now leave. Before I start remembering how much I used to love you. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just turned and walked away. But I saw it in the way her shoulders tightened. She thought she'd win. She still thought she could claw her way back. But I was done being her safety net. That night, I started boxing her things. Every photo, every dress, every note she ever left me. I burned them in the fire pit out back. One by one. The last to go was a framed picture from our wedding. I watched the flames melt the glass and crack the frame, and for the first time in weeks, I breathed without weight on my chest. Then I opened a beer, leaned back in my chair, and stared at the stars like they were new. Because maybe they were. Maybe the sky looks different once you've burned everything that tried to bury you. The following week was quiet. Almost too quiet. I kept expecting the chaos to return, calls, yelling, some dramatic confrontation, but there was nothing. Just the occasional shallow text from Emily that read like it had been dictated by her mother. Short, cold, detached. I didn't reply. I wasn't going to argue over text with my own daughter while her mother pulled strings behind the scenes. Rachel always knew how to weaponize silence, and now she was using Emily as a shield. I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting. But pain no longer surprised me. What had surprised me was the call I got from my attorney. She tried to put a lien on your business, he said. My heart thumped once. What? She filed paperwork yesterday, claiming partial ownership based on spousal contribution. But your prenup is airtight, Jake. She won't win. I leaned back in my chair, let out a long breath. I should have known. It wasn't about Emily. It was never about family. It was always about control. Rachel wasn't grieving the end of our marriage. She was scrambling for a parachute. She wanted the business, the house, the last bits of identity she didn't build but thought she was owed. That night, I drove to the place where I proposed to her, a little lookout spot just outside the city. It used to be our escape, she called it. I hadn't been there in over 10 years. The bench was still there, half broken, facing the lights of the skyline. I sat there for a long time. I let myself remember it all, her laugh when it was real, our first dance in the living room, the night we found out we were pregnant. I let every memory pass through me without resistance. I didn't fight them off like poison. I felt them, and then I let them go. When I got home, I drafted a letter to Emily. Not a message. A real letter. On paper. No yelling, no guilt, no manipulation. Just truth. I told her I loved her. That no matter what her mother had said, I had never abandoned our family. That I was still here. That love doesn't always come in the form of staying. Sometimes it shows up in the courage to walk away. I didn't mention Rachel's affair. I didn't tell her what her mom had done. She'd learn in her own time. And when she did, she'd have that letter waiting. The next morning, I mailed it. I didn't expect a response. I didn't need one. The point wasn't to win Emily back. It was to let her know that someone had kept it real through the fire, even if that someone had lost everything else. Later that week, I sold the house, packed everything that mattered into a storage unit. The rest I left behind. Rachel tried calling twice after that. Once at 2 a.m. Once after the business sale made headlines. I didn't answer either time. She'd made her choice in stilettos and dim club lights. I was making mine in silence in full daylight. 2 months passed. The divorce papers were served and signed. Rachel didn't even show up to court. She sent a lawyer with cheap perfume and fake lashes who acted like she'd walked into a soap opera. The judge barely looked up. The prenup held, the house sale went through, and the business was mine, untouched, clean. I moved into a small loft downtown. Minimal, quiet. A single bed. A black leather couch. No framed wedding pictures. No floral-scented candles. Just space. Space to breathe. To think. To not hear heels clicking around behind my back or feel eyes judging every decision I made. Then, one morning, I got a knock at the door. I didn't expect visitors. I almost didn't open it. It was Emily. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older, too. Like she'd been carrying someone else's pain on her back for too long. We just stared at each other for a moment. Then she said, "I read the letter." I stepped aside. She walked in without asking. She didn't look around. Didn't comment on how empty it was. She just sat on the edge of the couch and looked down at her hands. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Mom said you. She said you didn't care anymore. That you had someone else. That you'd already given up on us." I stayed quiet. Let her speak. She told me what to believe. And I just believed her. Because she was crying. Because I didn't want to admit I saw it happening. She looked up at me. Her eyes were wet. "I saw the guy, Dad. I saw how she looked at him. I heard them whisper when they thought I was asleep. I knew. I just didn't want to know." I sat down across from her. She wiped her face. "I hated you for something you didn't even do. I said things I can't take back. You were lied to," I said. "It's not your fault. I still feel like it is." We sat in silence. Then she pulled something from her bag. A small envelope. "I don't expect this to fix anything," she said, sliding it across the table. "But it's a start." Inside was a photo of me holding her when she was 5 at the zoo. She had ice cream on her chin and both hands wrapped around my neck. On the back, in her handwriting, "You were always the strong one." I just forgot. I didn't cry. I didn't speak. But something inside me finally settled. When she left that night, I didn't feel alone. Not this time. For the first time in months, I felt like I was standing on solid ground. Like the version of me that got shattered in that graduation hall had finally been replaced with someone new. Not colder. Not harder. Just wiser. And free. The next time Rachel tried to contact me, it was through an email. The subject line said, "Can we talk like adults?" I didn't even open it. There wasn't anything left to talk about. No apology would mean anything. Not after the months of silence, the lies, the courtroom games, the fake tears, and the venom she whispered into our daughter's ears. That bridge wasn't burned. It was reduced to ash and blown out to sea. A week later, I saw her by accident. I was at a grocery store, grabbing protein bars and black coffee like I always did. When I turned the corner, and there she was, Rachel, wearing oversized sunglasses indoors, pushing a half-empty cart with that same strained fake smile she used when she had no control left. Carson wasn't with her. I almost kept walking. But she noticed me, froze, then slowly made her way over. Each step felt heavy, like she was dragging chains behind her. "Jake," she said, voice low. "Hi." I nodded once. She bit her lip. "You look good." I waited. She kept talking. "Emily told me she came to see you." I didn't know she was planning that. Still, I said nothing. Then she dropped her gaze. I guess she needed the truth. Can't blame her. I raised an eyebrow. "Since when did truth matter to you?" She flinched. "Okay. I deserve that." There was a pause. She tried again. "I messed up. I know I did. I don't even know why I let it go that far. I just felt stuck. I wanted more, but I went about it the wrong way." I let out a short breath. "You didn't want more. You wanted easy. You wanted attention. You wanted someone to tell you what you wanted to hear while I was out building a future." "Maybe," she said quietly. "But I didn't think you'd actually leave. Not like that. Not so cold." I looked at her carefully. "You weren't just unfaithful, Rachel. You were surgical. You built an entire second life and smiled in my face while doing it. Don't stand here and talk about cold." She swallowed. "I think about what I did every night." "Good," I said. "That means you're finally feeling what I carried for years." She didn't have a comeback. Just silence. Eventually, she nodded. "I won't bother you again." I shrugged. "That's up to you. But if you do, don't expect kindness. You already buried that." She walked away after that. Her steps were quicker now, eyes facing forward, no more fake smile. Just a ghost in running mascara pushing a cart full of nothing. That night, I sat on my balcony with a glass of bourbon and no music, no voices, just the hum of the city below. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was rebuilt. Different. Sharper. Clearer. They say pain changes you. That's true. But so does survival. So does standing up when everyone bets you'll stay on the ground. And as I stared out at the dark sky and the blinking lights, I realized something simple. I didn't need revenge. I was the revenge. A few months later, I got invited to speak at a leadership conference. One of the panelists had seen my name in a local business feature, apparently. The way I rebuilt after the divorce, sold the house, held on to the business, and doubled its valuation caught someone's attention. I almost turned it down. But something inside me wanted to be seen for who I was now, not who I used to be when I let people walk over me in silence. The event was held at a downtown hotel. Polished marble floors, people in tailored suits shaking hands over overpriced coffee. I stood in front of 100 young professionals, told my story, not about Rachel or the betrayal, but about rebuilding. About starting over when the foundation you trusted turned to dust. People came up afterward. Some shook my hand. Some quietly said, "I went through something like that too." One man told me his wife ran off with his business partner. Another woman said she hadn't seen her daughter in a year because of her ex-husband's lies. And each time, I looked them in the eye and said, "You're still standing. That's all that matters." That night, I got dinner alone. No rush, no tension. Just me, a medium steak, a glass of red, and a city that no longer felt like a trap. My phone buzzed. It was Emily. "Dad, I told Mom I don't want to stay with her anymore. Can I come live with you?" I stared at the message for a while. And then I smiled. I replied simply, "Yes, always." She arrived 3 days later with a single suitcase and tired eyes. She didn't say much, just hugged me tight and whispered, "I'm sorry I ever doubted you." "You don't have to be sorry," I said, holding her close. "You're home." Over the next few weeks, we rebuilt, slowly. She cooked breakfast sometimes. I helped her with college applications. We argued over who left dishes in the sink. Normal stuff. Real stuff. And one evening, while we were watching a movie, she asked me, "Do you still think about Mom?" I didn't hesitate. "Sometimes, but not in the way I used to. Now, it's just a chapter that taught me who I am." She nodded. "I get that." Then she added, almost like an afterthought, "You know she still talks about you. Like she didn't lose something real." I gave a faint smile. Of course she does. That's what happens when someone throws away gold because they thought glitter was enough. And in that moment, I knew I'd made it. Not just out of the storm, but beyond it. Stronger, wiser, and finally, free from the lies that once defined my life.